So this woman was Chang Yi Sao, and she was born in 1775. Not much is known about her early life, but what we do know is that she was born to like the everyday person, not people with power, who historians seem to like to write about. What we do know is that she was born in China during a truly chaotic time. Between 1750 and 1800, the population of China increased from 181 million people to 297 million people. Essentially, like an entire new country got added to society. Now this matters because the city was completely packed to the brim. It was like people were just spilling out, like where do they stay, you know? So people actually found ways to live on boats in the water because there just wasn't enough space for them on land. So an entire group of people started living on the water, and they were called the Tonka. Tonka? The chimp? Tonka the chimp! I know, I didn't think Tonka the chimp was gonna be here. And Chang Yi Sao was actually one of them. She grew up literally on water. She knew her way around a boat pretty dang well. She knew the water. She knew how it worked. She knew what it was like. You know, living in such a big, crowded city gave her a lot of street smarts. And according to records, her first job was as a sex worker. And this wasn't just to make money. She knew the only way that she could move up in society was to gain a little bit of power. And the way that she did this was by learning secrets about the local businessmen that she had sex with. Some say she would strategically trade these secrets so people knew she was the person to go to for important information. And sometimes I think, like, if I weren't doing what I'm doing now, I think I would be a sex worker, but then I would try and make it to the top and try and get secrets on everyone so I could blackmail them. That's what I would do. Or go to college. Being a woman, we can do those types of things. Okay, anyways, this created a position of power for her. And she really shows her true colors during this time. She used the influence she had to protect other sex workers around her since, it was a very dangerous job. She could have been selfish and blackmailed people, Bailey. But instead, she made sure that the men knew not to mess with her or the sex workers around her, or else she'd spill their secrets. Do you want that, Brad? Do you want everyone to know what you do alone in your room, Brad? Do they know that you're fucking your cats, Brad? Around the year 1800, she is now in her 20s, and her life completely changes. She meets a man. A man named Chang Yi. So, Chang Yi Sao has managed to make a name for herself through sex work. She learns to trade secrets, and she also creates a powerful community of allies by protecting her fellow sex workers. Then, around 1800, Chang Yi Sao's life completely changes when she meets a man named Chang Yi. I know, I was like, what are the odds? They have the same name? But this is actually where she gets her name. We don't know what her birth name was before she married. Back then it was like when you married someone, you just took your man's name and that was it. That's your name now. You have no name. Your name is your man's name. So she goes down in history as Chang Yi Sao. So that's what we're calling her. Sorry, girl. So at some point she meets this man, right, Chang Yi, and she's getting to know him. And she's like, hey, so what do your parents do? What do your parents do? And he's like, we have a family business. And she's like, oh my God, that's crazy. What's the business? Like farming or something? And he goes, no. We're pirates. Pirates? Yes, Chang Yi came from a family of pirates, and they'd been pirates for over 100 years. It was in his blood. Now, to normal girls, this might scare them off, but Chang Yi Sao, she's not like normal girls. She was like, what? Hot. I'm in. And the two get married. So he and his family were actually just part-time pirates in the spring and the summer. In the fall and winter, these pirates were actually fishermen. In China, fishermen were not living the best lives. In the spring and summer, there were terrible monsoons, which made it almost impossible to earn a living by fishing. So the workers had to find other sources of income. So they turned into pirates. Professor Diane Murray describes the life of a fisherman at this time as, quote, so miserable that for many, a successful pirate foray was the sole hope for a better life. Now, this marriage wasn't exactly about love, you know? There was some love between Cheng Yi and Cheng Yi Sao, but the real reason they got married was for business and opportunity, as many people did, you know, back then. Cheng Yi Sao knew being a pirate's wife would bring in lots of money and also power, things she'd been working toward her whole life. So she made a point to not only be a supportive wife, but one that her pirate husband depended on. She would help her husband strategize on what places to take over, what ships to attack, who to kidnap, and how to defend themselves. That's kind of cute, honestly. Like, honey, what do you think? I think we should invade this place. I think we should rob this place. They're bonding. She would often negotiate deals on behalf of her husband because she was much better at dealing with people than he was. And as it turns out, the two of them were an unstoppable force at sea. So things are going great for the couple. Cheng Yi Sao is even given a son. Her husband, given a son, listen to this. Her husband kidnaps and enslaves a 15-year-old boy. His name was Bao. So pirate kidnappings were so common back then, the government had to invent laws around what was happening. If you were kidnapped by pirates, you were either killed, held for ransom, or you were forced to join the crew as a pirate. So when 15-year-old Bao joins the crew, Cheng Yi Sao takes him under her wing. She even makes him her little protege. I mean, Bao didn't have much choice. He was kidnapped and forced to be there. So he's like, this is my life now. Great. Legend has it, Bao is initiated into the crew through something called homosexual liaison. We don't know exactly what that entailed. This was interpreted by historians to mean that they probably forced Bao to have sex with the pirates on the boat. Now, Bao follows around his adopted father and mother, doing whatever they order him to do. He even helps when it comes to looting towns and ships and stealing their gold. It sounds so fake, right? I know, I always think that too. I can't believe this was real. So, the parents. They're impressed with how Bao was doing. They're like, this kid's good. I'm glad we abducted him and enslaved him and then had him raped. Good job, you guys. But they decide to make him the captain of his own ship. And this is perfect timing because it was 1802, if you didn't know, and Cheng Yi was called away on a family affair. Now, according to legend, someone in his family dies and leaves him a huge fleet of ships with thousands of crew members. Around the same time, there's a major change in the pirate world. For the first time, multiple pirate crews and ships are banding together. This is because nearby in Vietnam, a new law that would prosecute pirates goes into effect. So after inheriting his family's pirate ships, on the way back home, Cheng Yi also picks up these pirates that were trying to escape this new law. He's coming back with quadruple the army that he had before. And it's okay, great. So most wives would be like, honey, you didn't tell me you were bringing so many people over. I would have cleaned up a bit. But Cheng Yi Sao, she was like, oh, fuck yeah, now we're stacked with power. There's so many people and ships to manage. She's now the one calling the shots. She's like, yes, yes. And she becomes the mastermind behind her husband's pirate conquests.